The late summer sun was hidden behind a thick veil of clouds, casting a pale light over the rolling fields of northern France. It was August 1944, and the air was heavy with the distant thunder of artillery and the faint smell of fuel. In the small village roads, deep tracks left by retreating columns told a clear story. The German forces were falling back under the pressure of the Allied advance. Yet somewhere on the edge of a tree line, two formidable silhouettes lay in wait. German Panther tanks, their long 75mm KWK, 42 guns pointing silently toward the horizon. Inside one of them sat Erwin Bachmann, a young but battle-tested officer whose calm demeanor masked the storm of calculation in his mind. Reports from scouts painted a grim picture. An entire column of Sherman tanks, perhaps 20 strong, was moving in from the west. Outnumbered 10-1, the Panthers had little room for error. Bachmann knew that this was not going to be a standard defensive action. It would be a chess game played at high speed, with lives and machines as the pieces. If you enjoy true accounts of wartime strategy and the men who made split-second decisions under impossible odds, consider liking this video and subscribing. Many more compelling stories from history await. Erwin Bachmann was born in 1921 in East Prussia, a region where the rhythm of life was shaped by agriculture, tradition, and the disciplined presence of the German military. Like many young men of his generation, he was drawn into the military system early, attending officer candidate school before the outbreak of the Second World War. By 1943, the tides of the conflict had begun to turn, and Bachmann, now a commissioned officer, found himself transferred to a Panzer regiment equipped with the newly introduced Panther tank. The Panther was a formidable machine for its time, armed with the high-velocity 75mm KWK 42L/70 gun and protected by sloped frontal armor up to 80mm thick. It was designed to engage Allied tanks at long ranges. In capable hands, it could destroy a Sherman before the latter could even return fire effectively. But in 1944, numbers and air superiority increasingly favored the Allies, and tactical skill became as crucial as mechanical strength. By August, Bachmann's unit was operating in northern France as part of the rearguard forces tasked with slowing the Allied advance after the breakout from Normandy. The fields and hedgerows of the region offered both opportunities and dangers. A tank could disappear into the landscape, striking from ambush, but so too could the enemy. On the morning of August 7th, reconnaissance reported a significant Allied armored push, moving along a narrow road network bordered by hedgerows. The column included multiple M4 Sherman tanks, supported by half-tracks and infantry. Bachmann, commanding one Panther and supported by another under an experienced crew, was ordered to delay the advance as long as possible. The odds were daunting: 2 German tanks against an estimated 20 Shermans. The choice of battlefield would decide everything. Bachmann began planning his moves like a seasoned hunter, choosing terrain that would mask his numbers, limit the enemy's ability to maneuver, and turn their advantage in mobility into a liability. Bachmann and the crew of his Panther knew that a direct clash in open terrain against 20 Shermans would be suicide. Instead, he chose a bend in the narrow country road where high hedgerows and a slight rise in the land would obscure visibility. The two Panthers positioned themselves on opposite sides of this curve, hulls partially hidden behind earthen embankments and thick vegetation. From this position, they could create a deadly crossfire zone. The front tank, Bachmann's, had a clear line of sight down the road's approach. The second Panther was angled to cover any attempt by the Shermans to reverse or maneuver. Both tanks had pre-measured range markers along the road, allowing the gunners to set their sights before the enemy even arrived. Shortly after midday, the distant rumble of engines began to vibrate through the ground. The sound grew louder, punctuated by the metallic clatter of tracks. Bachmann peered through his binoculars and saw the lead Sherman emerge from behind a hedgerow, followed by another, then another. The column stretched beyond view. At 800 meters, he gave the order to hold fire. The lead Sherman rolled unsuspectingly into the kill zone. At 600 meters, Bachmann's gunner exhaled slowly, his eye fixed on the sight. The command came, crisp and calm. Feuer. The first round hit the lead tank's frontal armor, stopping it dead in the road. Almost instantly, the second Panther opened fire on the trailing vehicles, trapping the rest of the column between them. Smoke and dust began to fill the narrow road, disorienting the enemy crews. Within seconds, Bachmann had achieved the first part of his plan: immobilize the column, disrupt their formation, and force them into a chaotic defense where numbers would mean far less. The first moments of the ambush had given the Panthers the upper hand, but Bachmann knew that standing still for too long was dangerous. The Shermans, despite the shock, began to react. Turrets turning, muzzle flashes appearing through the haze. Bachmann ordered a quick reposition. The Panther's powerful Maybach engine roared as the driver reversed a few meters into cover, then advanced at an angle to change firing position. This constant movement made it harder for the Shermans to lock onto them. His wingman mirrored the tactic, moving behind another patch of hedgerow while keeping the crossfire intact. The trapped Shermans faced a critical decision: push forward into the arc of Bachmann's gun or reverse into the sights of the second Panther. Some attempted to drive off the road into the fields, but the soft ground slowed them, making them easy targets. Each shot from the 75mm KWK-42 cannon was deliberate. No rapid, wasteful fire. Bachmann's gunner aimed for the side armor whenever possible, maximizing penetration chances. Enemy rounds struck the embankments and hedgerows around them, showering the crew with dirt and leaves inside the hatches. A few shells clanged harmlessly against the sloped frontal armor of the Panther, leaving only scorch marks. The psychological pressure on both sides was immense. For the Shermans, trapped and under constant threat. For the Panthers, maintaining discipline under fire. By maintaining alternating fields of fire and shifting positions after each few shots, Bachmann ensured that the two Panthers appeared to the enemy as if they were everywhere at once. Confusion grew among the Sherman crews. Radio chatter intercepted later revealed they believed they were facing a much larger German force. In less than 15 minutes, the road was blocked with disabled tanks. Smoke from burning fuel and oil mixed with the summer air, creating a thick haze that further concealed the Panthers' movements. Bachmann had turned the numbers against the enemy. 20 Shermans reduced to scattered survivors, many abandoning their vehicles to seek cover on foot. With the road littered with immobilized Shermans and the remainder retreating beyond sight, Bachmann faced his next challenge: how to withdraw without inviting counterattack. His radio crackled with short, controlled exchanges. No celebration, just measured reports. He ordered his Panther and the accompanying tank to reverse toward a pre-designated fallback point deeper in the bocage. The movement was deliberate and cautious, using hedgerows as cover from potential flanking attacks. The Maybach engines rumbled steadily, their exhaust trailing faint heat waves in the cool morning air. On reaching a narrow farm track, they halted briefly to scan for pursuit. None came. The ambush had been so decisive that the surviving Shermans did not regroup for a counterstrike. Instead, reconnaissance later revealed they had pulled back several kilometers to reorganize. Bachmann inspected the scene through binoculars before leaving. The wreck-strewn road, smoke drifting skyward, the still silhouettes of abandoned tanks. It was a sight he had witnessed before, but never with such a small force, inflicting so great an effect. Back at the forward maintenance point, crews quickly set about checking tracks, suspension, and the long 75mm guns for wear. Bachmann's Panther had sustained minor superficial damage, but no penetrations. His wingman's vehicle bore a deep scratch on the glacis plate, serving sensationalism's testimony to the armor's resilience. The engagement became a textbook example in his unit for using terrain, positioning, and discipline to overcome a superior numerical force. The key had been controlling the tempo, dictating when and where the enemy could fight. While official reports listed the action in concise terms, among the crews it was remembered for the precision and composure under fire. For Bachmann, it was not about the numbers destroyed, but about executing a plan flawlessly under immense pressure. The encounter between 2 Panthers and 20 Shermans remains a case study in how tactical advantage can outweigh numerical superiority. Historians note that such outcomes were rare and relied heavily on specific conditions: favorable terrain, coordinated crew performance, and precise fire discipline. Without these factors, the results could have been very different. In post-war analysis, military instructors used this event to emphasize the importance of reconnaissance, positioning, and efficient communication. The engagement also highlighted the limitations of armor design on both sides. The Panther's long-range accuracy was decisive here, but its mechanical reliability remained a vulnerability in prolonged. For the crews involved, the day's events were not remembered as triumphs, but as moments of intense focus where training and preparation determined survival. It underscored the reality that in mechanized warfare, split-second decisions often carry consequences far beyond the battlefield. Today, such accounts are valuable not for celebrating individuals, but for understanding how tactical doctrine evolves. They serve as reminders that technological advantages are only part of the equation. Planning, adaptability, and the ability to read the battlefield are equally decisive. If you found this historical account engaging, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Turn on notifications so you won't miss upcoming episodes exploring more remarkable events and untold chapters from history. Your support helps keep these stories alive and accessible to everyone.